about the flood.
As February ends off Canada's North Atlantic coast, it's the season of whelping and mating for harp seals. Time for the pups known as whitecoats to enter a world of ice and snow. In this frigid terrain, birth brings the trauma of thermal shock. A sudden plunge from the warmth of the female's body to the sub-zero cold of the air. A difference of almost 50 Celsius degrees. This new pup lacks an insulating layer of blubber. Its survival now depends mostly on rapidly gaining weight in less than 2 weeks on the female's fat-rich milk. The North Atlantic has two other breeding populations of harp seals. One with whelping patches in the White Sea north of Russia, and the other on the ice south of Spitsbergen. Harp seal herds move with the seasons. An estimated 1.5 million spend the summer in the Arctic, where abundant food supplies build up blubber for the late winter. A 3,000-kilometer migration begins in September as the herds move south with the drifting ice. In late February, they appear here, in the Gulf of St. Lawrence, and in what's called the front, off the Labrador coast, the breeding areas for Canadian herds. Females arrive first, haul out and scatter across the ice pans to give birth. Males keep pretty much to themselves in bachelor groups, some distance from the whelping females. These seals have a long history, around 20 million years according to the fossil record. They evolved from some land-based carnivore. Now, for safety and for food, they depend on the sea. The spots that indicate a young animal become less evident after maturity is reached. They eventually give way to the dark harp shape that gives this species its common name. Males develop their harp pattern earlier than females. There are survival benefits in this frigid world of floating, shifting ice. It's free from disease, and now that the annual seal hunt has been put on hold, it's also free from human exploitation. But it does have its hazards. At this time of year, the pack ice is unstable. It can break up in a storm, or even with changes in temperature or wind direction. That gives adaptive value to the shortness of the nursing period, to the brief time that the seals need the ice as a place for the pups before the females leave them on their own. However large the ice pan, and some are half a kilometer or more across, for both males and females, access to the water is never far away, whether it's an open lead or a diving hole that's constantly maintained. Temperatures here normally range from +1 Celsius to -9, and winds can sweep across the ice at up to 70 kilometers per hour. For its first 3 or 4 days, a pup's fetal hair bears the yellow stains of amniotic fluid. Newborn pups are precocial. Soon after birth, they can move around, call when they're hungry. Nursing usually begins within an hour of birth. A female nurses only her own pup and won't accept any other. During these 12 days, she doesn't feed and burns off about 5 kilograms of her weight just moving around and keeping warm. She transfers up to 25 kilograms to her nursing pup. In milk that's up to 45% fat, 10 times richer than cow's milk. Thus, the pup that's born at 10 kilograms rapidly gains about 2 kilograms a day. It reaches a weight of around 35 kilos by the time the short nursing period is ended by the female's departure. The white coat that gives the pup its name and its commercial popularity is part of the young animal's adaptation to the cold. The hairs are both highly reflective and quite translucent, allowing the sun's rays to reach the skin and be absorbed as heat. In addition, the hair's greenhouse effect cuts down on the loss of body heat through radiation. Along with a layer of blubber, the white coat conserves heat, and so is essential to survival in this cold climate. This bare patch is probably the result of injury rather than birth defect. Whatever its cause, it may well prove to be fatal. At these temperatures, a large loss of heat can't be tolerated. Still, only about 1 to 2% of the pups are known to perish on the ice. Compared to the crowded shore colonies of other species, there's more space here. Less crowding, less fighting, disease, or infection. Until recently, the biggest threat here was the annual harvest of pups by commercial hunters, a seasonal industry that's been largely curtailed by a European ban on buying whitecoat pelts. Aggressive posturing serves to help space the females out across the ice during the nursing period. There can be up to 2,000 adults within a single square kilometer. Aggressive behavior by pups is rare, and so is play activity. It helps in the development of most young mammals, but here, it uses energy that can't be spared. What play there is usually solitary, and rarely goes beyond such things as rolling in the snow or biting at a piece of ice. With a hungry pup on a 2 to 3 hour feeding schedule, the female is never too far away and keeps a vigilant eye on her offspring. Among adults, the sexes are about the same size, averaging 130 kilograms. Unlike sea lions and walruses, harp seals can't maneuver or propel their bodies with their hind flippers unless they're in the water. On the ice, their mobility is reduced. Another way to conserve energy: fill up the time between nursing sessions with sleep. But how does the female find her own pup? A small white body hidden away in a white world. For one thing, pups tend to choose a favorite spot and stay there. The place itself can be identified by the impression of the pup's body melted into the ice by its weight and warmth. The female will respond to her pup's call and may approach partly on the basis of its voice and appearance. But final identification depends on its individual odor, something the female learns indelibly to recognize right after the pup is born. The pup learns to locate the nipple area by its warmth and odor. Nuzzling releases hormones in the female's body. Their effect, plus the strong sucking, is to cause the nipple to be extruded and the flow of milk to begin. A pup can get into difficulty if it gets hungry enough to go looking for its mother and gets lost, or is carried away by a breakup in the ice pan. A pup separated from its mother may well starve as it wanders the ice, rejected by all other females. Hunger has driven this pup to follow its mother into slush ice, but it can't nurse underwater, and at this early age hasn't yet learned the use of its hind flippers, which are essential for swimming. The effectiveness of the harp seal's adaptations to the cold is never as apparent as when the animal is in near freezing water, whose capacity to drain heat away is 25 times that of the air. The skin temperature may be close to 0 Celsius. But with a layer of up to 5 centimeters of heat-conserving blubber, the deep body temperature is kept at 37. It takes about 4 or 5 years for harp seals to mature. They may live as long as 35. This pup, ready for weaning, has more than tripled its birth weight in less than 2 weeks. This is the season not only of birth, but of molting and mating as well. Now the sexes begin to mingle and to tolerate greater closeness. As males compete for breeding privileges, their fights leave some of them scarred and bloodied. A new female arrives. The immediate response is just enough aggression to startle some of the younger males into a sudden retreat. One old male is harder to budge. He assesses the situation and simply shoulder hops to a more comfortable position. For the males as well, this is a time of fasting and of conserving energy. There may be attempts to mate on the ice, but most of the coupling takes place in the water. The pups conceived here will not be born for 11.5 months. During 3 of those months, embryonic development is suspended, which means that all births occur in the same part of the season every year. Back on the nursing site, something unusual is happening. A pup has slipped into a breathing hole, perhaps trying to follow its mother. But now it's unable to follow her back out onto the ice. The pup has only a slim chance of escaping, unless the hole is enlarged by a warm spell or by a wind strong enough to shift the ice. Unless the animal's repeated attempts to climb up can scratch out a claw hold on the rim, it will succumb to starvation and cold. The wind does come, offering no threat to the well-fed pups on the ice. What the storm does to the ice may determine the fate of this pup. Now a fat Whitecoat enjoys one of its last milk feedings. Soon it will be on its own, learning to catch its own food. Crustaceans at first, and then small fish. The first molt will occur while the pups are still drifting with the ice, before they take to the water to swim to their summer feeding grounds near Greenland. The golden yellow of the coat signifies a late birth, which puts this new pup at risk, with the ice soon to start breaking up. Whatever the fate of this latecomer, the storm has brought good fortune to the pup in the breathing hole. Somehow, it's clambered out. And survival is still a possibility. The annual production of harp seal pups was expected to increase rapidly after 1982, after European fur traders put a ban on buying Whitecoat pelts, and thus opened the way for a drastic decrease in the yearly hunt. Any increase in any local seal population is of concern to fishermen, who hold that large numbers of seals reduce their own catch. However, there's some evidence that the reverse may be true. Since 1978, the condition of the harp seal herd off eastern Canada has been relatively poor, the result of a food shortage that may also be contributing to the production of apparently smaller pups. This could lead to a rise in juvenile mortality. It's still at about 1% on the ice, but research hasn't yet revealed how many pups perish after they leave the whelping area. It may well be that the harp seal population will not increase as rapidly as expected. Perhaps not at all. More time and more research are needed before government responds to demands for culling the herds or reopening the hunt. It's now late March. The ice is breaking up and drifting away. The annual cycle of ice and seals has come full circle. The renewal of numbers continues for a species that over millions of years has been shaped to fit perfectly into its cold marine environment.
More wildlife on 5 on Friday night. We're a bit busy with football and the Pepsi chart until then. King penguins on Friday at 7:30.